Why can't the Giants have what the A's have? When I say that, just player development.
No one ever. But no, I agree with you in terms of player personnel.
When I say it, it sounds laughable.
It does.
No, it sounds laughable. It's like, what do you mean? The Giants have the history, they have the hardware, they have the stadium, they have the entire Bay Area in Northern California. Once the A's go to Vegas, they have it all. Except what you actually want if you're a fan, which are young, good, homegrown talent to be really excited about and to see grow for a decade. That's what you have with Buster Posey. That's what you have with Matt Cain. That's what you have with Tim Lincecum. That's what you have with Brandon Bell, Brandon Crawford. The list goes on and on and on and on. And during that stretch, you were balling. And the A's had a good time during that, good team during that time as well. Back in 2012, 13, and 14, they were coinciding. The A's at one point were actually a World Series favorite when they made that big splash in 2014. Now it ended up curtailing them. They face-planted after trading Cespedes, and the rest is history. But even since then, the last time the Giants won a World Series, Joe, that was 12 years ago. And you did a deep dive, we both did this morning, about just the rosters comparing and contrasting and just looking at what the A's have done since then. And it is pretty remarkable, the iterations that you saw them tear it up, tear it down.
Yeah.
Tear it up, tear it down. Oh, bring it up, tear it down.
No,
you know what I'm saying? But like, and I'm looking at it right now, there is part of me, if I'm a Giants fan, that says, would I have just rather sucked these last couple of years like the A's if it meant nailing my draft picks and getting all this young talent, and now it's finally come to fruition and I'm first in the division, and yeah, I took my licks for 4 years, but the Giants were just muddled to mediocrity for 2022 to 2025, and the A's were just awful, but the A's cashed in on picks.
Yeah.
Like,
they're just clearly better at identifying.
Yeah.
Can we acknowledge that?
Yes.
Like at picking the players. Are they better at developing the players?
We like to make fun of Billy Beane for the Moneyball thing. The guy just knows talent. And David Force is the general manager, is right under him.
And I feel like they cultivate talent.
Yes.
So when I go through this exercise and I go through some of their teams, can you just, all the Giants fans out there, remove how bad the business model has been for the A's and just think about player development. That's it. Not who they kept, who they got rid of, whatever. And while you're thinking about that, think about what would the A's do with Bryce Eldridge.
Yeah.
Okay? So in 2014, that was the last time the Giants won a playoff series. They won the World Series. The lineup for the A's was Derek Norris, Brandon Moss, Eric Sogard, Jed Lowry, Josh Donaldson. They traded Yoenis Cespedes, but he was their middle guy. Coco Chris, Josh Reddick, and Albert Callaspo.
Alberto.
2 years later, there were only two guys on that team. From that team. 2 years later. In 2016, it was Stephen Vogt, Yonder Alonso, Jed Lowry's a carryover, Reddick's a carryover. Boom, they bring up Marcus Semien, Ryan Healy, Chris Davis, Billy Burns, Billy Butler.
Country breakfast.
A couple years later, they make the playoffs again. 2018, the A's. Lou Croy, Matt Olson's new. Jed Lowry's the carryover. Marcus Semien a carryover. Chapman's new. Chad Pinder, Mark Canha, Piscotty. Chris Davis is a carryover. 2020, their final little playoff run with that version. Sean Murphy, Matt Olson, Tony Kemp, Marcus Semien, Matt Chapman, Robbie Grossman, Ramon Laureano, a newer face, Piscotty, Chris Davis. And then 2023, the team that ends up winning only 50 games, Shea Langoliers, Zach Geloff, Nick Allen, who's now in Atlanta, Jace Peterson, Tony Kemp, Estuary Ruiz, Ramon Laureano, and Brent Rooker. Think about the team you played this weekend, and you were referencing some of those names, Joe. Yeah. You've got Kurtz, Cortez, Rooker, who's a carryover, Soderstrom, McNeil, Zach Geloff, Lawrence Butler, the young man Jacob Wilson is injured right now.
Max Muncy, who's their first-round draft pick recently that they've called up. They're really high on. Henry Bolt, who they're very high on, who we've seen. They have so many names, so many different guys.
I mean, the Giants in 2022 were trotting out Brandon Belt at 34 years old, Brandon Crawford at 35 years old, 36-year-old Evan Longoria, 30-year-old Jock Peterson, 31-year-old Mike Yastrzemski. This is going back in 2022, okay? 7 years later, this is the team that they're putting together after winning their last playoff. Tommy La Stella at 33 years old.
Who came from the A's, by the way.
All right.
Remember his Achilles? It was just always sore.
Who were your best players? Oh, Wilmer Flores, who was 30. Austin Slater, 29. 35-year-old Darren Ruff. I guess the theme that I'm going at here is clearly their business model is turn it over, meaning turn the product over, only retain a couple of guys, get the best years out of people. And we can argue about that. That's not a great business model for fans, right?
Right.
In terms of the team that you're fielding and flipping them over, I mean, it's them, it's the Rays, it's who else in the sport? Oklahoma City Thunder feel like a version, an NBA version of what the A's are hoping to accomplish when they go to Vegas, meaning we'll still have a lot of player turnover, but we're going to pick the best of the best of the best, and that's who's going to stay on our team.
I mean, and when you think of just development from, the draft, trades, whatever, football, it's different, but you think of the Eagles. You think of Howie Roseman. You think of guys like that.
That's
right?
a good call. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, if you think of Howie Roseman. Kind of like the Billy Beane-esque, except he's, has all the money.
So I look at the Giants and I go, all right, after going through that exercise where I showed you how different these rosters are for the A's, just 2 and 3 years after each other, what would they be doing right now with Bryce Eldridge?
They'd either play him or trade him. Play him or trade him.
That's exactly what they would do, huh?
Yeah. No, it's true. He'd be playing out there.
In this hypothetical, Nick Kurtz is not on the roster.
Sure.
Right, let's just say.
But you know what? Even if he was, put him in the DH spot.
They would be playing him or trading him, huh?
Yeah,
they really would.
God, I was disappointed I didn't see a lot of Eldridge this weekend, man, if I'm a Giants fan. I mean, this is a guy that plays at that ballpark in AAA.
Joe.
That's where he plays.
I'm going to pull up how many at-bats he's had just in the last 2 weeks. Let me just, you filibuster.
Well, no, and we got some calls here on 888-957-9570. And Giants fans, watching this series over the weekend, isn't there part of you that is a little envious of, what the A's have right now? I'm not saying you have to envy the franchise. Yeah. I'm not saying you have to be like, no one has ever said, I wish I was the Athletics. I wish I was the Oakland A's, right? Not since the 70s or 80s. No one's ever said that. And A's fans, if you're listening, trust me, these are all compliments I'm giving because they've been so damn good. The players on the field, and I give a lot of credit to Mark Kotze, the manager, too, being able to block out all the noise of going through a move, going through a name change, going through being, enemy number one, having to navigate this thing all the way through to Las Vegas. They've done a hell of a job so far, but they took their lumps. And I just wonder if Giants fans could handle that, because I hear Willard say this a lot of the time, and he's a huge Giants fan. And this isn't me, crushing Mark or anything. I just think it's interesting. I want to get your perspective and Sam's.
Let's hear it.
He doesn't think that the Giants could ever be like a rebuild, kind of organization. They can't tank or go through a rebuilding situation and, be like the A's have been the last couple of years.
Why?
Like a full teardown.
Every team in sports goes through some sort of teardown at some point.
I don't think correct me if I'm wrong, Willard, if you're listening, you can text me or you can call in. He doesn't think it could go over well with the fan base or this area. There's certain areas, sports areas, that you just can't do that in, and San Francisco is one of them. What?
Why?
That's what I've heard from Giants fans. It's just you couldn't do it.
Haven't we rejected?
You couldn't be 50 and 112 in 2023. Couldn't do it.
But did we accept 79 and 83?
Yeah, because you're right there. Because, see, this is the difference, Joe. I could sell, we're just a player or two away.
But they're not.
We're just a couple players away. We're an Adames and a Devers and a Chapman away. Do you buy that? That they couldn't tank? They could,
I just fundamentally view sports a little different maybe than others. I understand there's an entertainment value, and I trust me, I totally get it. But I just view it as cyclical. You have to bottom out as an organization. And you can think about the Warriors when you're thinking about this. You can think about the Niners. Just the way sports runs. If you're a fan for, let's say, 25 years, you're going to bottom out at least once over that 25 years, right?
Yes.
At least once.
Yeah.
What are most teams doing? Probably 3, 4, 5 times, right?
So
I feel like the Cardinals the Arizona Cardinals have been perpetually bottoming out every 3 years.
So it's an interesting compare and contrast, because let's go back to 2021 where both teams last finished over 500. Okay. Or, over 500. So because they've been 500. So 2021 Giants, obviously historic, 107 and 55. The A's that season were 86 and 76. They finished 10 games over, but they were just in a stacked division. Okay. AL West was loaded. They didn't make it. All right. Since then, the A's went 60 and 102, 50 and 112, 69 and 93, 76 and 86, and they are currently 23 and 23. Compare that to what the Giants have done since 2021. 81 and 81, 79 and 83, 80 and 82, 81, 81, 20 and 27. Would the Giants just have been better off doing what the A's did and tearing it down?
But here's the problem.
But they didn't have anyone to really build around anyways.
No, but the other problem is that I don't think a lot of people trusted the people in charge to pick the right players. Which I will listen to that argument.
Yeah.
I will definitely listen to that argument.
You got something, Sammy?
No, I would say I am that person. I had trouble trusting the Giants' ability to hit on draft picks at the end.
Let's think about this. Like right now, and look, I know they play different positions. This is not a like for like, but just to give you an example, and again, I like Drew Gilbert. Yeah. I like him, and he plays a different position than Bryce Eldridge. But if you had, from the day that Bryce got called up, May 4th, if you had Bryce Eldridge with 7 starts and 24 at-bats, and Drew Gilbert with 10 starts and 34 at-bats, I think you would have been surprised.
Yeah.
How few people had that on their bingo card.
They want to see Bryce Eldridge. You're 7 games under 500. I'm shocked he didn't play that much this week. And he played 1 game on Friday.
It's not that you're not seeing him, Joe. I don't really understand what they're doing with him. That's the bigger thing. Well, if you're not going to play him here, which okay. I'll listen to that. You don't want to play him here?
Then put him down.
I'll listen to that. Then bring him down.
Then bring him down.
Him rotting on the bench isn't going to help him.
This is where having the inexperience right now factor with Vitello and Posey, I think, is rearing its ugly head.
But you have Dusty and you have Bruce Bochy that are involved as well.
I'm not solely blaming those guys because it's a group think effort, because this is what they say. I'm taking their words for it, that it's a group effort of Minasian, Posey, Vitello, as you said, the consultants, the Bochys, the Dusty Bakers. Why can't you figure this thing out with Eldridge? That's why I brought up even earlier the fact that there is an opening now with Elliot Ramos, an everyday guy, out of the lineup. You can get creative here to find a void, find a need. And yeah, they probably signaled to us yesterday they don't want Casey Schmidt being in the left field with Eric Haas playing there.
Well, that was my interpretation. What other feeling can you have other than they probably don't want Schmidt in left field?
I agree, because I would actually, just on paper, probably trust Schmidt more than Eric Haas, who is a catcher in left field, just going by range and just going by arm and glove. But yeah, DH for Casey Schmidt yesterday. I thought, hey, maybe if you could put Casey in left and Eldridge can get the DH, just get creative. You have an opportunity now is my whole thing. Oreo Cookie wants to join the conversation. I just find it fascinating. We're kind of going to compare and contrast between what the A's have done the last 5 years compared to what the Giants have done. And I do believe the A's are in a better place presently and for the future to kind of take over the American League potentially. I'm dead serious when I say that. They need pitching, but they have the bats to do it. And I know Giants fans have been dying to have young, fun at-bats, and that's why we've been so damn stressed out about guys like Marco Luciano, about guys like Bryce Eldridge,